Voila! Oh my goodness! I start that way sometimes. My goodness this time has to do with the appearance in your reading of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exactly half your reading is from the suit of the majors. It's a special suit besides the 4 ordinary suits. And they are speaking of significant spiritual and archetypal qualities, which we'll know more about in a minute. After that, you have 1, 2, 3. You have cards from the 4 other suits, so that balances the reading between the higher spiritual matters and the ordinary matters of the mind, the heart, the body, and the spirit. The reading begins with these 2 cards. 6 of Swords, which in this deck is called Science, and 2 of Wands. In this deck it's called Dominion. And I don't always latch on to those words. If they speak to you, that's great. Otherwise, I don't tend to use those words when I'm reading these 2 cards. The first 2 cards of reading have to do with what's central for you at this time. And swords are the suit of the mind, the suit of ideas, belief, communication, education, media, truth. 6s in every suit are the harmonious function of that suit. 6s, this is speaking of a clear mind, a mind that works well, a mind that's untroubled. It's coupled with this 2 of Wands. Wands are a suit of the energy, spirit, passion, creativity, intuition, action. And 2s are very early in their suit, so it has to do with just stepping into something. So stepping into some spiritual, energetic, creative endeavor, coupled with the clear and well-functioning mind. So the 2 actually are very complementary to one another. Fire burns brighter in the presence of air, and air moves freer in the presence of fire. So to me it's saying your mind and your creative spirit are cooperative and healthy and a great combo at this time. What is falling in the position which speaks of what everything at this time is based on, it's the 10 of Discs, the suit of the real world. It's called Wealth. 10s are the final numbered card in their suit. They speak of a time that's coming to a closure that is a prelude to a beginning. So something in your physical world, your health, your wealth, your work, your relationships, your housing, is arriving to like a climax. It's a tipping point, and it will introduce you to something new. I would offer to you that this is a strong card in this position. It's saying things are based on strength and health, and yet you will soon be moving into something new on the physical plane. So just something to know. This card is one of my favorite cards in the deck. It's called Art in this deck. It is from that suit of majors. It's sitting in the position which is speaking about what is backing you up, meaning what has happened to you up until now, and you can utilize it from here forward. It has to do with mixing, creativity, combining things, combining even opposites to create a new form or activity. So it's saying to me, you have this ability, and it is sitting in your reading to remind you to be open to using that, to recognize how you've utilized your creativity and your ways of recombining things to build something new for yourself. It's a very assuring card in that position. At the top of the reading is a beautiful card, the Four of Cups. It's called Luxury. Suit of the heart, of the emotions, of your feelings, of your dreams. Fours are about the ground floor, the foundation. So and in this position, it speaks of pointing you towards lifting up your imagination, to be playful. And this card would ask you to be playful about finding emotional ground that is solid and well situated to build on, because it looks to me like there may be some building for you. And so keep it in your mind. What is emotionally satisfying to you, and what might you imagine would be emotionally satisfying? So it's a card to invite you to play, to explore, to follow your dreams a little. What is appearing in the position which speaks of things to look forward to is this amazing card, the Magician, and it's called the Magus. It relates to, or it harkens to, that word harkens to the Magi, the holy and skillful figures from days of old, who understood the elements, the turning of the stars, the nature of reality, so that they could understand it, communicate with it, and express it. And the Magician is very much about communication and being skillful in the matters of, he has within his image here the cup for emotions, a sword or a dagger for the mind, a disc for physical matters, and a torch or fire for spiritual matters. So it's speaking of, and it's similar, I think it's interesting, juxtaposed with this art card, which talks about recombination in order to create something new. So the Magician in your reading supports that creativity and utilization of those aspects of yourself. Falling in the position of what I call the turning point, where things are hinged right now, from going from the way things have been and the way things are, basically currently, but it's a turning you around a corner to move more forward into your life. And the Hanged Man expresses being in between places. It's a card that invites and is the wisdom of patience, of waiting, of surrender, actually, to forces greater than yourself, working through you and in you. It points out that quality of living in the manner that you aren't always in control. You don't always have the advantage, and that's the time to surrender to your spiritual practice and to the higher forces that do flow through all of us and all of life itself. So in this position, it opens you up. It's a kind of undoing and redoing, which is, again, is similar to this art card. Taking things apart in order to rearrange them into a new and higher form. I call this card the cocoon, which, when you imagine the image of a cocoon, it looks like nothing's happening, it's just hanging on a little twig. It looks dry and lifeless, but in fact, it's where the most significant, remarkable forces are at work. The forces of unmaking and remaking, the forces of changing from one form into another. And that does take time, and it takes patience, and it takes a willingness to allow that to happen. So that card is speaking to me a lot to speak to you in this reading. So the one card of the reading that I always say really has nothing to do with you. It's nothing you have control over. It's nothing that's your fault. It's nothing that you can manipulate. It's just something for you to know about. And this is the card, which is the 5 of discs. I sometimes call it the weather card or the God card. It's what is operating around you, what you're dealing with environmentally. And the suit of discs is the physical world. It's called worry, and again, it's not a word I would use to express this. 5s have to do with disorganization in the process of reorganization. So this is a theme that seems to be very much bubbling up in this reading, is taking something apart in order to put it back together again in a new form, in an advanced form. It's an evolution. So everything is moving to a higher level. I want to assure you that you won't be going backwards, you'll be going forwards, and you do have a lot of control over a lot of that forward motion. But 2 of these cards are expressing to me to say to you, allow for, you're not in control of everything. And those things which you are not in control over, especially some of the physical material features, like the day and age, the structures in place at this time. I think a lot of our whole planet is rearranging itself, and it's disorganized and messy and sometimes frustrating and uncomfortable. But in this card you will see these bright, hot, golden pieces, and it expresses that behind all the confusion, the mess, the disorganization, the jumble, is this promise of newness and health and order, new order, reordered. So progressively, a 5 would move naturally to a 6. And remember, I expressed to you that 6s are the most harmonious expression of their suit. So for the time being, all these cards, in fact, the whole reading will pass away. But at this time, recognize when you are frustrated, when things are daunting or uncomfortable, that is in the process of of naturally proceeding to a more harmonious place. And this card is one of my favorite cards. It's called Lust, which alludes to the lust for life. And it has this amazing nude woman riding the back of this very fearsome beast, which harkens to a lion but has many heads and a tail like a snake. She's raising a chalice in a motion of strength. In many decks, this card is called Strength, and it speaks of the strength of yourself having overcome hardships, having risen above your weaknesses and your fears by way of facing them. So if we imagine the beast at one time was the monster that she had been facing or running away from or being under the foot of, now she's at more of a cooperative and celebrated relationship with those things. It's like, you know, things I used to run from, now I can be happy that I endured them and overcame them, and I'm stronger for them. That's what this card is expressing. And it's falling in the position of how you yourself, under everything that's operating at this time, can best spend your time and attention. And that means, if you don't remember anything else about the reading, remember this card and focus on what are your fears, what might you consider your weaknesses, how have you felt overcome by forces larger than yourself, and start to acknowledge the places you have, though you have overcome those things, and recognize you still have that capacity to overcome any that you're facing at this time. So it's a card that is a generative card for strength and enjoyment and increasing that quality of yourself. So there's that card. At the top of the reading is Lady Justice, also from the suit, the major suit. It's called the Major Arcana. Justice has to do with balancing, righting what may have been wrong. Falling at the top of the reading, or the final card of the reading, it's saying this is where everything really actually is moving. It's moving towards a correct decision, a balancing out. If something had been lacking, then something will be presented to relieve that lack. If something was saturated or overbearing, then it will be relieved or relieved, so that things can balance out, the scales can balance out. I'm going to rearrange them and see how they might say more to us. Oh, this is such a lovely set of duets. And I'm not gonna, it's not linear, so I want to impress upon you that I can't, one of these cards, pairs, I'll have to speak of first, but I need to speak of them all at once. So let's wait until I can speak of them all at once before we try to order it into something more or less than that. I guess I'll start with this pair, the Magician and this Six of Swords. I love this pairing. It's saying to me, with your clear mind and your healthy mind, your healthy way of seeing yourself and life, that is a beautiful atmosphere to practice your skills. What are you skillful at? What skills might you like to add to yourself? And enjoy it. Enjoy the process of your skills. Don't be shy of your skills. Don't doubt your skills, especially. Please do not doubt yourself and your skills and your abilities and your magic, really, your gift in this lifetime. That is what this pairing is saying to me. To remind yourself and credit yourself with these qualities and let them operate freely. Here is the Two of Wands paired with the Hanged Man. And to me, this pairing expresses that this stepping out, this energetic, creative, intuitive, spiritual beginning that you're in, don't force it to be more than it is yet. Give it time. Allow it to inform you. Remember, we spoke of the Hanged Man as your in-between places. So step lightly and trust. I'm going to use the word trust. Trust this beginning, this spiritual, creative, energetic stepping out. But don't push it. You can't push it. Allow it to develop with it as you are involved in it and you participate and you explore. You are being informed and you will emerge something wonderful, something you've not yet been. I think that's what this pairing is saying. This pair, the two discs are now coming together, and it's like a central experience for you at this time. And so we spoke of the 10 at presenting you with a closure, a time of closing on the physical plane. And this 5 of being a time of disorganization in the process of reorganization. I think is very natural in terms of what your other cards are talking about. I would offer to you, it's another thing not to force, not to fret over it. I believe that this is a process that is in motion and will naturally resolve itself into something beautiful and new and promising and successful. So ride with that, that climax of some sort of material cycle coming to a close, and this jumble before the new harmony. So that's what these two cards are telling me. Here, fabulously together, these two figures of the one is art and the other is lust or strength. She's about confidence, powerfulness, and again the art card, which we mentioned before. So I would say to you that art and creative expression is very much a fuel for your confidence, for your forward motion. What else? You might see something in this pairing that I'm not able to articulate. It's a powerful, beautiful, promising, strong pair. And another thing, it may be I'm telling you nothing you don't already know, but the readings are useful to remind you what you do know and to encourage you to enjoy it and utilize those features of yourself. I think this was down below. All right, the last pair is that emotional foundation card. It was earlier in the position of how to be playful and imaginative, imagining emotional security and health and foundation, an emotional setting that is perfect just for you. Now paired with the Justice card. So in this card having to do with that balancing process, bringing something into right relationship, right order. Combine that with your imagination of it being, that resolution being emotionally beautiful for yourself, luxurious, even luxurious. The idea of the Lady of Justice can be daunting, it can be frightening, it can be anxiety producing. Will the right decision occur? When will it occur? How do we make it occur? I would offer to you this pairing as saying it is in the works, and to support yourself through facing or arriving to this decision time or this balancing occurring, include any time that you may, while the balancing is arriving, and even perhaps after the balancing arrives, support yourself emotionally. What feels good to you. Sometimes justice can be very sharp. It's oftentimes expressed as justice is blind. So, however the justice arrives to you or occurs, what that decision may be, support yourself emotionally. Treat yourself. Again, I'm asking you not to doubt yourself, that you don't deserve it or there won't be enough. There is enough, and this card is offering to you. Remember that and gift yourself with that. Let's see if I see anything else that I may want to say to pull it to wrap it. Let's set all the majors together, and then let's set the minors. They're called minors together. I want to say to you that in these major arcana cards, to me it is also expressing that you're surrounded by guardians, spiritual giving and protecting and informing and inspiring forces and entities. So also draw on that. You may want to communicate with it. You may want to take advantage. When I say take advantage, I mean consider a spiritual team, and you're one of the team. You're not less than, you're not greater than. You're all in it together. And you cooperate, and you have a voice, and you can communicate, and you can ask for help. You can make suggestions. Also, I would say to you, stay aware for how you are being guided and what signs and affirmations and assignments and encouragements you're being delivered. So much of every life has to do with paying attention, and so attention very much always begins with recognition. Just recognize you have a team that's working in your favor, and I assure you will see and hear signs and get guidance and be rewarded with assurance that you are on the right path, you're making the right moves, or assurance that that's the wrong turn. So do that cooperation, be in the presence of that team that's working in and around and through you. I think that's mainly what these cards are saying to me. There is really not a negative card in this reading. There's the one card that describes disorganization, but I'm not going to call that negative. There's this one card which describes a period of being in suspense, but I also don't consider that negative. I see this as, and this is a card that describes the ending of a cycle. And unless you are unable to allow cycles to end, I would not say that's a negative card. So a lot of life, a lot of promise. So enjoy the process, and I'll be very interested to see how things develop. Thank you.